Welcome to Leadership with Purpose. Today, we're going to be diving into this book. It seems pretty simple on the surface, but it's had a huge impact on, millions of people who are dealing with change. It's called Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh, yeah. Who Moved My Cheese? By Dr. Spencer Johnson.
Right, Dr. Spencer Johnson. I mean, you think about it, almost 30 million copies sold. It's been translated into, I don't know how many dozens of languages. I mean, that kind of reach, that tells you there's got to be something really profound in this little story.
Yeah, for sure.
About how we react when, life kind of throws us a curveball.
Yeah, totally. It's about these four characters in a maze who are searching for cheese.
Yeah.
But the cheese, it's a metaphor, and represents all sorts of things we value in life, like, our careers, relationships, you name it.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is how the story manages to, tap into our deepest anxieties and instincts about those things, especially when they're threatened or when they just disappear altogether.
Right. So we've got this maze.
Yeah.
And inside the maze, we have these, four very distinct personalities, right? We've got Sniff and Scurry.
The mice.
The mice, yep. And then there's Hem and Haw.
The little people.
The little people, right. And just like their names kind of suggest, they all have very different approaches to searching for and reacting to the movement of their, beloved cheese.
Absolutely. And it's those differences that make this parable so relatable, You've got Snip. He's always super alert to even the tiniest little shifts. He's like, the early warning system for change, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Scurry. As soon as he senses change, bam, he's off and running, taking action without overthinking it.
Right.
But then on the flip side, you've got Hem. He's like the embodiment of resistance. And then there's Haw. At first, he's a lot like Hem, resisting change. But eventually, he goes on this whole journey of learning to adapt.
Right. Okay, so their story begins, at Cheese Station C, where they've all found this, massive, seemingly endless supply of their favorite cheese. So things are good.
The good times, right? Everything feels safe and secure.
Yeah, secure. But even in this, initial abundance, we see these different approaches start to play out,
Exactly. Right from the get-go. Sniff and Scurry, those busy little mice, they don't get complacent,
Right.
They stick to their routine. Every single day, they're scurrying through that maze. It's almost like they instinctively understand, that nothing stays the same forever.
Yeah.
It's a subtle point, but it's super important. Vigilance, it's not about being paranoid.
Right.
It's about staying connected to what's happening around you, to your environment.
That's a really good point, I think. I mean, it's so easy to get lulled into the sense of permanent stability, when
Right.
things are good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Hem and Haw, they definitely fall into that trap.
They did.
They get so comfortable, they develop all these habits and routines around Cheese Station C. They just take it all for granted.
Totally. They probably even feel like they've earned the right to have this endless cheese supply,
Yeah, it's theirs. They deserve it.
Exactly. It's kind of like how we all settle into, those comfy jobs or relationships, and we just assume they'll last forever,
Right.
But life doesn't always work that way, does it?
Not always, no. So one day, inevitably, they arrive at Cheese Station C, and what do they find?
Nothing. Nada.
Nothing. Zip.
And it's at that moment, the contrast in how they react, it's just so stark.
Oh, it is. It's night and day.
You can almost predict how it's going to go down, right?
Yeah. Sniff and Scurry without a moment's hesitation, no emotional baggage holding them back.
They just sniff around for a bit, confirm that, yep, the cheese is definitely gone, and then boom, they're off on a mission to find new cheese. It's purely practical.
Just okay, next problem.
Exactly. It's like they've just accepted the new reality instantly and shifted all their energy into finding solutions.
Right. But Hem and Haw.
Well, Hem and Haw, they're totally blindsided. They're in shock, anger. It's almost like they feel betrayed,
Yeah.
Hem, especially, he gets stuck in that why me phase. Haw, he's equally shocked, of course. But his struggle is more about, the fear of going back into that maze, facing the unknown.
Right, that feeling of this shouldn't be happening, that resistance. It's so relatable, though, isn't it?
It is. It's human nature.
It's like our natural defense mechanism when something disrupts our world. But as the story unfolds, we start to see Haw having this shift in perspective. And I think that's where some of the most valuable lessons for us really start to emerge.
I agree, 100%. Ha's journey, it's all about overcoming that initial paralysis that fear can cause,
Right.
and realizing that staying stuck in your comfort zone, especially when it's not even comfortable anymore,
Yeah.
that's actually more painful than facing the uncertainty of change.
Right.
He goes through this whole internal struggle where he starts to question his own resistance. He has these moments where he's tempted to go back to that empty cheese station,
Yeah.
still clinging to that hope that things will just go back to the way they were.
Yeah, like maybe if I just show up, it'll all be back to normal.
Exactly. And it just shows how incredibly hard it can be to let go of the past. That tendency to cling to what's familiar, even when it's actually hurting us.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing.
It is. It's like a psychological trap.
Totally. But eventually, Ha has this breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
He realizes that the biggest obstacle he's facing, it's his own fear.
His own fear.
Yeah. And he starts to laugh at himself for being so afraid,
Yeah.
And finally, he takes that leap of faith.
Exploring this new unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
And as he's tentatively moving forward, he starts finding little bits of new cheese.
Little bit.
Tiny bits.
But those little bits, they make all the difference, don't they? It's like they give him just enough hope to keep going.
Yeah, okay, there's something out here for me.
Exactly. Those small wins, those little glimmers of hope in a new situation, they can be so motivating.
They can. And it's a great illustration of how those small successes, can give you the momentum to keep moving forward. And as Ha continues his search, he starts to reflect on everything he's gone through, kind of codifies his insights into these really memorable handwriting on the wall messages.
Those are the core principles he takes away from his journey, the wisdom he gains.
The wisdom. And the first one, change happens. It seems so obvious, right?
It does.
But it's this fundamental truth that we often forget in our daily lives.
We do. We get caught up in the day-to-day and forget that the only constant is change itself.
Right. And building on that is the second one. Monitor change.
Monitor change. That one's all about cultivating an awareness of what's going on around you,
Yeah.
Paying attention to those little subtle shifts. You're not completely caught off guard when the big changes happen.
Right.
It's about being proactive, about observing your surroundings.
But then adapt quickly.
That one emphasizes how important it is to be agile, to be able to let go of old ways of thinking and doing things.
Yeah.
The faster we can adjust, the better we can take advantage of new opportunities.
Absolutely. I mean, holding on to those outdated methods or clinging to the past, it just keeps you stuck at that empty cheese station.
Totally. No cheese for you if you stay there.
Right. No cheese. Okay, so the next insight is change. But not just adapt to it, right?
Right.
But actually move with the change.
Embrace it.
Embrace the dynamic nature of life, of work.
Yeah, ride that wave.
Ride that wave, which then leads to, and this one might seem counterintuitive, enjoy change.
Enjoy change. It's all about shifting our perspective. Instead of seeing change as this scary, threatening thing,
Yeah.
we start to see it as an adventure.
An adventure.
A chance to grow, to discover new possibilities.
And then finally, I think this one's especially crucial in today's world. Be ready to change quickly, again and again.
So important, because change isn't a one-time thing,
Yeah.
It's a constant cycle.
So these principles, they're presented in such a simple way, but they have these really profound implications, across so many different aspects of life.
Absolutely.
Like in the business world, this book has been really influential in helping organizations navigate all sorts of changes, technological advancements, and those ever-evolving market demands.
It has. It's like it gives people a common language in this framework for talking about change,
Yeah.
which can often be really tough conversations to have.
Yeah.
It encourages individuals to take a look at their own resistance and consider whether there might be a better way to respond.
Yeah. And it's not just limited to work either, right? On a personal level, this parable offers some really valuable guidance, I think,
Oh, for sure.
for navigating all sorts of transitions, like career changes, relationship changes, personal growth, really any situation where we feel like our, cheese has moved.
Totally. It really highlights that danger of getting too comfortable.
Because that comfort zone, as appealing as it can be, it can also be this breeding ground for stagnation.
It can. And if we're not actively engaging with the world around us,
Yeah.
and anticipating those potential shifts, we're going to be caught off guard when change inevitably happens.
Now, it's important to acknowledge that there have been some critiques of Who Moved My Cheese.
Mhm.
Some people argue that it's a bit oversimplified,
Yeah.
that it doesn't really capture the, emotional complexity of some of those bigger life changes that we go through.
Yeah, I can see that. Like
Yeah,
grief, trauma, systemic inequalities, those are things that you can't really solve with a simple mantra of move with the cheese, you know?
right.
Those real life changes, they can be so emotionally charged and multifaceted. And that straightforward approach that the book takes, it might not resonate with everyone, especially when they're dealing with really profound adversity.
Right.
But even with those considerations, I still think that core message about the importance of being adaptable and having a proactive mindset, that's really powerful.
I agree. I mean, while our personal journeys through change are always going to be unique and complex,
They are.
I think those fundamental lessons that Hall learns, recognizing that change is going to happen, keeping an eye out for it, adapting quickly,
Mm.
and learning to embrace it,
Yeah.
those are all really valuable starting points for navigating uncertainty.
Definitely. Who moved my cheese? It serves as this really potent reminder that change is a constant part of life.
It is.
And our ability to adapt with resilience and a forward-thinking attitude, that's essential for not just surviving, but thriving in a world that's always evolving.
Yeah. Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you, our listener, with this thought. Where might the cheese stations be shifting in your own life?
Interesting question.
And how can you cultivate a little bit of that sniff and scurry awareness,
More aware.
Yeah, while also being understanding
Yeah.
of that hem-like resistance that we all feel sometimes.
It's about finding that balance between like acknowledging our emotions,
Yeah.
because change can be emotional, but also being proactive and seeking out those opportunities that lie beyond our current comfort zone.
Beautifully put. And if you found this deep dive insightful, if you found it helpful as you navigate change in your own life, we would love it if you take a moment to like this episode and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us keep bringing you these explorations of ideas that matter.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Leadership with Purpose.